It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game.
Oh, we're so back. We're back with a little bit of breaking news. I don't know if it's worth the sounder, but breaking news by way of the National Football League. Ravens and Chiefs will open up the 2024 season Thursday, September 5th at Arrowhead in KCMO. So there you go. AFC title game rematch between the Chiefs and Ravens. Chiefs haven't lost since Christmas. So they're running high. We'll see what the Niners' schedule is going to look like. This Thursday, I believe, is when it's all going to get announced. That's what reports indicated. So hopefully by this Thursday, we're talking about a schedule. We're talking about how many wins, how many losses. We're going to do all that, and then we all are not going to know anything come next year because the teams we thought were going to be good stink, and the teams they thought were going to stink are going to be good, and some other teams are going to be right in the middle, and you never know anything. Because we don't, but we try our best. Just like, we all thought the Minnesota Timberwolves were just going to sweep, right? Oh, Nuggets. They're done. Oh, please. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, they're one-year wonders. How could Michael Malone, head coach, be talking about a dynasty last year? They can't even get past the second round as defending champs. Well, down 0-2, going on the road to Minnesota, no problem. Now it's all tied, heading back to Denver, and I would be shocked if the Denver Nuggets did not win this series. Shocked. They look like the champions. They look like the better team. They look like the more in-control team, poised team. And they look like the better coach team. Now, Chris Finch has done a hell of a job, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. But the decision to leave Rudy Gobert in as long as he did last night cost them. Not just yesterday, but the game prior. In game 3, Gobert missed game 2. Birth of his child, that's fine. Couldn't get back to the airport in time or couldn't arrive on time. And they blew Denver out of the water. They didn't need him. That's the dirty little secret. Shout out All-American Rejects. They didn't need him. They still don't need him. But is Chris Finch going to pivot off of him? Just because something works throughout the regular season or in the first round, that doesn't matter. And this is new territory for head coach Chris Finch, and I feel bad for Finchy, as Steiny calls him, is his friend. That's Steinmetz' his friend, that is. But I feel bad. Guy's got a torn patellar tendon, and he just looks miserable on that sideline. You're battling adversity both physically and mentally as a coach. That's not easy. Anthony Edwards, hell of a performance yesterday. That guy, he really is reminiscent of Kobe, of MJ, just the ISO game. Hell, you can go Melo in there if you want because maybe he's not going to be those other two. But Melo, start there. The ISO game, the one-on-one, the fadeaways. He was the only one cooking yesterday. Karl Anthony Towns? Looked like Karl Anthony Towns, who we've kind of ragged on at times, being inconsistent. But the man of the hour and the man of that first half, ending it on a high note, was Jamal Murray. I mean, it went from a 7-point game to a 15-point game like that. Like that. A couple of careless turnovers and a buzzer beater 3 that Kevin Harlan called yesterday. And it was, tremendous. It was hilarious too. After the entire crew at TNT, gassed up Kevin Harlan. Hey, Kevin, you called games here since the inception of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they were just an expansion franchise. You were their play-by-play voice for 9 years before pivoting to national games. Congratulations. And then he calls just a dagger of a shot against his former team. And the only way that Kevin Harlan can. Authentic. He's not going to sugarcoat it just because he called games for Minnesota. Just like he doesn't do the same for the Kansas City Chiefs, who he called many years there as play-by-play voice on the radio side. So good morning to all of you. 888-957-9570 is the number to get involved. It's a pregame show with Joe Spadoni. You got me for the next hour before handing it off to Bonta Hill. And yes, Joe Shasky hath returned, filling in for Shasky last week. Hey, it's an adjustment, man. First week alone with the baby. Get a little scary. Mrs. goes back to work. I'm sure he was fine, though. You know, we like to overblow that a lot. Oh, the dad. Oh, so he doesn't know what he's doing. He needs the wife. Oh, please. Baby's 6, 7, 8 months old. Really easy. If they're crying, change the diaper. Feed it. Notice I said it, whether it's a boy or girl. They're it's at that stage anyways. They're kind of like aliens. You feed it, you rock it to sleep, or the little one's sick, and you get it some medicine. It's really that simple. You check all the boxes there. All right? So I don't want to hear any of the complaining. Especially from the Xfinity Mobile text line, 888-957-9570. I don't get a lot of complainers on the pregame show. The pregamers are not pre-complainers. We don't do that here. You know, I talk to the working men and women of this fine greater Bay Area and around the country and around the globe. They're not into the whining and stuff like that. They're realists, and they understand things. And speaking of...
Joe.
Thank you. Move on, Joe. I love all the Joe drops. None of them are even regarded to me, especially Priest in Palo Alto, who might be Dave Stewart. Exactly. Now we have Joe Hawks in here, too, who's a guy that works for, I think, every single station that we have in our cluster. We used to have Fortenbaugh here. He's gone. So that's one less Joe. But as far as I'm concerned, Sammy, never have too many Joes. Joe Montana being one of them. Joe Mama, of course, being the top. Real quick, as we pivot to Giants here, and we can still talk about the national games, 888-957-9570. Do you think the Minnesota Timberwolves are done like I do? I said Nuggets in 7. It might be Nuggets in 6. I could see them reeling off 4 straight. But Sam Lubman, I'm bearing the lead here. My guy got his very first foul ball yesterday on Mother's Day, taking his mom to the game. I'm calling that good karma. Karma was a foul ball. Shout out Taylor Swift, as Sam Lubman, one of the biggest, if not the biggest Giants fan and baseball fan I know, got a very first foul ball. I'm so happy for you, Sammy. Congratulations. What an honor. What an achievement as he fiddles with his headset back there. He'll get to me here in a second. But the emotions going through your brain right there. Sitting next to mom, give me the play-by-play. Who's the batter? What happened?
Yeah, so it wasn't the first one I've ever gotten. It's actually the third one I've gotten.
Okay,
it was the first one I caught on
get off and just turn it off.
First one I caught on the fly. So if you want to count it that way, the last two had to bounce off.
Okay, so you got the out.
Yeah,
if there was an out.
So it went from bat to glove. Nothing touched in between. So it was my first clean foul ball that I ever got. We were up in the view box. Tyler Fitzgerald was up. He hit a little foul ball up the right side. And, it was coming right out. It's coming more at mom than at me. So, you got to stick the glove out. Always bring your glove, kids. That's the moral of the story.
And on Mother's Day, you better not let mom get hurt. So
absolutely. So, you reach out across and just right into the webbing of the glove, and it was pretty clean there, so...
Did you get some cheers around you?
Big ovation. You can see it on the TV. It went back, kind of rewatched on the TV podcast.
They
didn't cut to me, of course, which figures, but whatever.
But they mentioned it? Oh, what a catch.
No. Just you see the crowd cheer, and you wouldn't even know what happened. So,
well, Sam,
but it is what it is.
It is what it is. I'm happy for you, but yesterday and especially the day before, it was overshadowed, and it's not Sam Lubman catching a foul ball. It's a damn bird in the outfield, because you know what? It's San Francisco. It's the Giants. The team's not very good. What are they going to do? Pivot to something on the field that's funny and actually entertaining.
There's a bird in short left center who's suddenly become a star. On the field, just hanging out, enjoying the day, basking.
I like that. That's not just a bird, though. That's a big bird.
Is it a crane?
I don't know what it is. That's not when you say bird, I think like somebody's just flying in, swooping, and getting out of there.
This ball lifted toward left field, falling quickly, and a diving effort by Ramos, tumbling gymnastically to make the catch in the shadow of the bill of the bird.
What is it with broadcasters? They have to just go over the top. And I get it, because it's broadcasting, but I heard Jason Benetti there, Fox Sports, alongside Eric Karros. Sam loves him some Eric Karros. We might reach out to him for this week, 888-957-9570. Eric, if you're listening, call in. But also, Dave Fleming I was listening to as well, and he called it a penguin. It's like, what? Guys, it's a pelican. First of all, he called
Stanford education show.
Jason Benetti, God love him too, and their coworkers over at ESPN, Sam. Yes, and I get it. It's hyperbolic. We got a crane. We got a penguin. It's a pelican. It's not that difficult.
Come on, pelican.
2-0 post-pelican, by the way. So there you go. If you needed that, you're going to need all that pelican, that big pelican energy heading into this next series, though, against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And this is going to be a great measuring stick for this team, for this squad, as the San Diego Padres took care of business yesterday against the Dodgers. The Dodgers are angry. Who cares? The Giants should be angry, too, with their level of play. I know they took away 2 of 3 against the Rockies, 2 of 3 against the Reds now. But they've been tight. Especially yesterday. They've been tight. And now you could be without Jung Hoo Lee for an extended period of time. Hurt his shoulder. I think it's dislocated. Melvin did not seem very optimistic. Bob Melvin, that is, manager of the San Francisco Giants after the game. So you could be without him. Conforto's hurt. You already have Cobb on there. You already have Robbie Ray. You expected him to be out. But you got a lot of injuries you got to deal with right now. Soler, he has the nagging injury. So you've already had your struggles offensively at the plate. Can't score a lot of runs outside of Coors Field, unless, let's be honest, it's Coors Field. And we had Dave Fleming on last week, and he said Coors Field wasn't really Coors Fielding until, the Giants got popped on last Thursday. So outside of the Coors Field road trip, you haven't really been scoring all that much. Now, 6 runs yesterday. It helps. The ball was flying. It was warm. It was windy. Day prior, 5 runs. I'm not going to scoff at 5. But anything below that, 4, 3, 2, 1, yeah. It's a problem. So what do the young guys have in store? Well, and I still don't know this guy's name. We have Dave Fleming on. Is it Heliot Ramos? Is it Elliot? Is it Elio? Is it Helio? Well, whatever it is, however you pronounce his name, Ramos, guy's been unbelievable. That was the play right there in that Pelican play-by-play from Jason Benetti. It was Ramos making an unbelievable catch. Guy's been awesome. So can this youth movement, if you will, like we were talking about the Giants and the Warriors, the youth movement, can it be an infusion at the plate and on defense as well? Well, for 2 days in a row it has been. Can they carry that momentum tonight against the Dodgers for a 3-game set? And I'm very fascinated to see what the crowds look like. On a Monday night, getting back in the swing of things, yesterday was Mother's Day. People probably spent some money out. And you really want to go spend some money? Well, I know what team is going to show up tonight without a shadow of doubt. That's the Dodgers and their fans. We know they're going to show out tonight. I'm curious to see what the Giants fans do. Got some momentum here. That's 2 series wins in a row. Have they started to, identify with this team? Probably not, right? Not yet. But what a momentum boost it would be for the Giants and their fan base if you could win another series. Be your 3rd in a row, and this time it's against the Dodgers. Be massive. Be huge. Oh, by the way, you got the Rockies coming in after that, and then you're heading to Pittsburgh to take on the Pirates, who are kind of up and down. Not great. By the way, Paul Skeens, number 1 overall pick by way of LSU, made his debut this past weekend. Guy's stuff is nasty. It's absolutely filthy. Now, he walked 4 or 5 straight batters on 4-0 pitches. But the stuff is there. Gets the command down, right? He's going to be a guy you talk like a Steven Strasburg for years to come, who was also a number 1 overall pick, obviously by way of San Diego State to the Nationals many years ago. And by the way, I saw a crazy stat. I think it was 14 years ago, Strasburg, because remember it was 2010. I just got a speeding ticket. That's why I remember this. But it was 14 years ago that Strasburg made his debut with the Washington Nationals. And the guy that opened up that game to take on Strasburg, the leadoff hitter for the Pirates, you guessed it, Andrew McCutchen. 14 years later, another number 1 overall pick, pitcher Paul Skeens, first batter of the game. Now, I'm not going against Skeens, but first batter for the Pirates is Andrew McCutchen. Just a little interesting there. 2 pitchers that, kind of have phenom written all over them. You think of debuts, and Cutchin just being a part of both of those is pretty crazy. The fact that he's been in the league this long, unreal. I always love me some Andrew McCutchen. Forever Giant, right, Sammy? There you go. Forever Giant. Just like Denard Span. 888-957-9570 is the number. You can also follow us. We are streaming on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Also, be sure to download the Odyssey app. Favorite 95.7 The Game. It's free. It's easy. It's simple. Take me. Take whoever you want. Music, radio station. We're just dominating everything. So just take us with you. Well, we're not dominating the stock market, but we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about that. What we do talk about, though, are some things that I didn't get a chance to touch on because I was filling in last week with Bonte Hill, so I didn't get to talk to all you lovely people here at 5 a.m. Like some of these takes that are just ridiculous. Like specifically this one. And I know it's late, but you know what? It's new for me and new for me talking to you, so I'm going to play it anyways.
Where the best athletes in the world are, that's us. I could take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA.
What?
Austin Rivers, come on, man. See, the problem with this argument, and I've heard multiple sides. I've heard of, the best pure athletes are in the NBA. They can just be corners or they can be in the secondary. Well, if we're doing that argument, all of them can be, I could be a punter. All right. There you go. Put all of them, replace all the punters with, guys in the playoffs right now. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Jaden McDaniels. Okay. There you go. Great. Congratulations. How many of those players in the NBA are willing to take hits and shots? They can't even get their faces scraped. They're crying about that. The amount of eye pokes I saw from Anthony Davis this year and the amount of season-ending injuries that you thought occurred, that happens damn near every single play for guys that are playing linebacker, guys that are playing cornerback, defensive linemen, offensive linemen getting poked, getting bit, getting cleated. That's every single play. NBA players aren't built for it. They're not. They're not. There is something about wanting to be physical that is the deciding factor in this whole conversation for me. NFL players, the good ones, want to be physical. Oh, Spadoni, the good NBA players want to be physical. Well, they want to be, but they can't. The rules won't allow it. Well, unless you ask Kyle Draper. Love Kyle Draper, pre- and post-game host for Sacramento Kings. That says the league's getting too physical, too tough, not calling enough. So I had to play that. Give me 30 players right now. Well, I can give you 30 like defensive linemen that I know could just go chill in the paint or be power forwards. I know that for a fact. Give me all the top studs. Give me the TJ Watts. Oh, give me the Nick Bosa. He's just physically just going to dominate. Give me Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. I'll take my chances. And then give me a guy like a Fred Warner. Give me a guy like a Christian McCaffrey running point. You kidding me? Come on. Can you imagine Christian McCaffrey throwing dimes to Devontae Adams for 3? I'm picturing it now. Come on. Please.
Come on, Pelican.
Zion, I believe it. Come on, Pelican drop. Zion could probably play. He'd get hurt in 2 seconds, though. Be Michael Thomas. Perpetually hurt ankle. That's, honestly, though, if we're talking about Zion, obviously the hamstring, I hope he's okay. Because he showed a taste of what he could be on the biggest stage in that play-in against the Lakers, and it's just, very unfortunate. But can you imagine Zion being like a Bo Jackson type, playing for the Saints one day, going to play with the Pelicans the next? It's just, in a weird way, I could believe it. What position would he play? Would he be a tight end? What would he be? Yeah, maybe a blocking tight end. It's just physical. That's the thing, though. Zion, physically a freak in the NBA. No one's like him right now. They got defensive linemen in the NFL that don't even make the rosters that are 6'8", 300 pounds as well. They're also running 4.5s, 4.6s, like offensive linemen that are like 325 pounds running sub 540s. It's just the physical nature of those NFL offensive and defensive linemen. I just don't think we're given enough credit to when we come to these conversations. I don't. So I needed to play that. I don't care if it's old. It's new to me. It's new to this audience. So I thank you. Good morning on the Xfinity Mobile text line, 888-957-9570. Austin Rivers knew exactly what he was saying. Now everybody's talking about it nationally with his name attached. Yet, it's called creating conversations when there's a quote-unquote dead period in sports. Not that I'm saying this is a dead period in sports, because, as we've been talking, baseball's in full swing, NBA playoffs is in full swing. Yeah, he wanted to create a conversation. Listen, it's a take that we've always heard. And it comes around every now and then. It's like when we have a really bad team in the NFL, like the Texans were for a while, the Lions, like the Raiders were bad forever. Oh, can Alabama beat this team? Can Nick Saban stop? Again, going back to physicality and the skill sets compared to college to the pros, it's night and day. Like the worst NFL team any given Sunday could beat the best NFL team. And no, an Alabama or a Georgia on their best day could not beat, whoever the worst team in the league was last year. Who was the worst team in the league? Bears. Well, no, it was the Panthers, because the Bears got their pick. So the Panthers. Yeah, I'm taking Bryce Young. He'll look like Patrick Mahomes against those defenses. We sleep on that. We do. That's one of the stupidest arguments I can think of in sports. 888-957-9570. Now, a more apt one, I think, would be like baseball or something like that. But even then, like I just saw Blake Snell, who's ramping back up. Hopefully he's back sooner than later. He's looking like his old self. But he's going up against single A pitchers down in San Jose. And he threw an immaculate inning. These guys can't touch him. Like there's layers and levels to all of this. Single A, double A, triple A. And then you get to the bigs. And there's a major jump from each and every one of those. And some guys are big leaguers. Some guys are 4A players. We say 4A because there's not a 4A. They're tweeners. I think we've got like Franklin Barreto with the Oakland Athletics. For the longest time, he just could not, he'd get his name called up and he's balling in AAA, but when he gets to that green and gold with the A's, it's not happening. It'd be like that sometimes. Speaking of a guy that just made a jump from AAA to the big leagues, we saw him a lot last year. His back cooled off. The chase rate we kept talking about. Well, he chased yesterday, but he made contact.
Driven out into left center field. Can anybody get there? No! And this game is over. Casey Smith, his first hit of the year.
And it's the bottom part of the lineup that makes the difference today.
Yes, indeed.
What was that at the end, Kite?
Yes, indeed.
That's like he was listening but not. One more time.
Driven out into left center field. Can anybody get there? No! And this game is first hit of the year.
And it's the bottom part of the lineup that makes the difference today.
Yes, indeed.
Mike Krukow, Dwayne Kuiper, NBC Sports Bay Area. They're two of the best in the business. They're both Hall of Fame guys in my book. They'll probably go down in the Hall of Fame at one point if they're not already in. But just...
Yes,
Does anything go better than the way Kruk and Kipe call games compared to the way we pull drops? Like, it's just such a match made in heaven. Those two plus how we do things.
It's a great point, Sam, because there are broadcasters that are just not drop worthy. But we got some of the best in the business here in the Bay Area. Whether we're going those two, or they're going the great Tim Roy, whether we're going, Dallas Braden, Pound Town. Come on.
No, we got some elite broadcasters here. Then when you just factor in how elite we are at pulling drops and the stuff that they say.
That goes without saying, though. I mean, we're some of the best in the business, Sam.
We're just well-rounded that way.
We are just well-rounded, a la Bonte Hill.
I'm just well-rounded.
34 minutes, Bonte Hill, Joe Shasky. I'm sure Shasky's got an awful lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts. A lot of takes. So many. On 95.7 The Game.
It's Jeep 4x4 season. Your chance to find out what true freedom feels like with great deals on your favorite Jeep brand vehicles. The Grand Cherokee is...
Pelican Bay. Giants 2-0 in the Pelican Bay era. And yes, I understand that Pelican Bay is a state prison. But there was a pelican in the bay over the weekend. Now the Giants are 2-0. Not a crane, as Jason Benetti called it, or a penguin, as Stanford's own Dave Fleming, our Giants insider, called it. It's a damn pelican, people. Haven't you ever seen one before? Come on. And you can always count on the Giants, though. The team's not playing all too well, even though they've won 2 series in a row, so I'll give them their flowers. They will latch on to any sort of creature and make that a rallying call. You have the rally possum out in Oakland. We've had the therapy bunny. I got the rally pelican.
Come on, Pelican.
There you go. Been talking, it's been a potpourri, if you will. Hope you all had a lovely weekend. Hope you honored and, you know what, texted at the very least. Texted. Again, I'm saying at the very least. Should have called her, talked to your mom, FaceTime or whatever, sent her a gift. All the mothers out there, all the mother figures out there, the aunts, older sisters, anyone that took care of you, that's like a mom, anything like that. All the moms that are struggling out there, all the single moms, all the moms that have passed. Every single mom you could think of. Hope you were honored in some shape or way yesterday. And if you weren't, I'm doing it now to you. I appreciate you, Mom, if you're listening. There you go. I also appreciate the NBA draft lottery, but not this year. God, what a year for no one really to care about anyone that's drafted number 1 overall. I cannot think, and I'm trying to do a deep dive here. Maybe I just need to pick up the list of number 1 overall picks in years past, like going back to the Anthony Bennett draft, where no one saw that coming. But who's the number 1 overall pick this year in the NBA? I don't know, but likely that it goes to Atlanta. Yes, the Atlanta Hawks, who had a 3% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick after finishing 10th in the Eastern Conference. They lost in the play-in game against the Chicago Bulls. And now Atlanta, number 1 overall, 2024 NBA draft, followed by Washington, who was one of the worst teams in the NBA. Houston, number 3, who, as we all know, gave the Warriors a pretty good push there late in the season. And yes, we all know the Draymond Trump Rockets coming out to play, all of that. All right, I got to play it. I mean, every time I have it, come on. It's just... Speaking of Draymond, I have some sound from him a little bit later. We'll get to that. That guy just...
The Rockets coming out to play.
Thank you. So the Rockets, number 3, followed by San Antonio. Get some help for Wemby. Then you got Detroit, Charlotte, Portland, San Antonio again, Memphis, Utah, Chicago, Oklahoma City, Sacramento, and Portland. Again, that by way of the Golden State Warriors, that Portland pick, 14 overall. It was top 4 protected for the Warriors if they somehow snuck in to that top 4 group. They didn't. Unfortunate is what it is. There you go. Your 2024 NBA draft lottery selection. Atlanta, our old friend Grant Liftman out there in Hotlanta, making and shaking things. Trae Young, probably going to be on the move. Probably. What team wants him? Lakers have been linked to him. I don't know if that makes you all that better for keeping it a buck here, but can score. They need scoring, as you've seen here in the NBA. It's all about getting buckets. Well, the Pacers did that. The Knicks were not able to do that. And now the Knicks, are they in trouble too? We're talking about Minnesota squandering a major opportunity. It feels like the Knicks are. I don't know if they can keep up that 3-point barrage, and we just saw that they couldn't in this past game. I don't know if they could stay healthy. And this conversation around Tom Thibodeau being the reason why all these injuries are happening, listen, I get that his style of play demands a lot more than a lot of other coaches and a lot of other systems, because he forces you to play hard, which I get it in today's society is asking a lot in the NBA, just, asking to play hard for your coach. Heaven forbid we do that, right? But he wants you to play as many minutes as you can and exhaust yourself offensively and defensively. He wants to have his players put everything on the line. And maybe there is something to, you know what, taking it easy for a gamer there. I get that if you're like LeBron James or Stephen Curry and you're old and you need to pace yourself. Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are they all under 30 years old? Yeah. So what are we doing here? What are we doing? This used to be the norm for the 90s, early 2000s. Michael Jordan. Yeah, that guy, ever heard of him? Greatest player in the history of the sport, one of the greatest, if not the greatest athlete we've ever seen. Prided himself on playing many minutes and exhausting himself offensively and defensively. It is something we love about him. Kobe Bryant, same thing. His insane work ethic. We love that about him. So why don't we love it when Tom Thibodeau is coaching his players to do the same thing? Well, this is the best the Knicks have been in, 15, 20 years? I mean, they're on the doorstep of the Eastern Conference Finals still. But we're going to go out because Mitchell Robinson had a stress fracture in his ankle? Come on. Because Anunoby's hurt? I mean, there's a fine line of players just getting injured because it's sports and the coach being the reason for that. Again, the guys I mentioned, Jalen Brunson, who's playing compromised. Everyone's compromised this year. DiVincenzo, I'm sure there's something nagging with him like it is with everyone. You got to play through it, though. I hate how we do this. It's like this never-ending cycle. You know, we're giving Tom Thibodeau credit, but as soon as a player gets hurt, he's the reason why. I just think that's a weak argument. Personally, if you disagree, 888-957-9570. I am a big, and I hate, what is it, Tibbs, Tom Thibodeau, whatever it is. Big fan. Because you know what? It's a dying art playing defense in today's NBA, and he gets his whole team buying in on that front. I have nothing but tremendous respect. Speaking of injuries, before we hit the break here, update from Bob Melvin on Jung-Hoo Lee, who left the game yesterday. Shoulder injury. Here's the update.
Not great. It's separated, so he's going to get an MRI. We'll look at it and see where he is tomorrow, but not great.
What was your view of that play and just kind of the thoughts going through your head as it transpired?
Well, I mean, it goes all out. You never really know with the wind here. Sometimes it pushes it, sometimes it kills it. But when he hit in the wall and he went down, he didn't get up. I didn't have a great feeling about it.
Always a scary play whenever you're going up against any wall, especially with a lack of padding. Like we were talking about in the chat, Lubman, Shasky, Garlic Fries, and Baseball guys, I'm sure they'll have many thoughts on this Giants series, the injuries stacking up here, but padding. And it's just an unfortunate injury. Again, unfortunate. You know, these have been some good series now for some of the young guys. I know, the Rockies, they're the Rockies. They stink. The Reds, they stink right now. But I think it was a good primer for what's to come against this Dodgers series and not having one of your young, exciting players in that lineup against a team that's pretty much all young and exciting players. That sucks. It does. 888-957-9570. We'll pick up this conversation on the other side. Are we blaming Tom Thibodeau for all these injuries? Stop. On 95.7 The Game.
Life doesn't stop when the economy is uncertain.
Tim Roy there, voice of your Golden State Warriors. Pregame show, Joe Spadoni here. One more segment before handing off to Bonte Hill and Joe Shass for the morning roast. Talking injuries right now. By the way, you think Tim Roy's ever been to a sideshow? Too short? Should ask him next time. Tim Roy, big sideshow guy out in Oakland. We've been talking injuries last segment. Tom Thibodeau, are we giving him, too hard of a time when it comes to injuries in the Knicks? Are we not, giving him enough grief when it comes to playing some of these guys into the ground, not giving them breaks throughout the game, 5, 10 minutes, quick spurts here and there for the Josh Harts of the world, for the Jalen Brunsons of the world, DiVincenzo, all those guys. Also, Jung-Hoo Lee. Concerning injury there. Separated shoulder at the very least. Going to see what takes place today, get an MRI, get all that, the x-rays, everything. But very concerning there for one of the few bright spots for the Giants in their lineup. I mean, consistently gets the hard hit balls. He's been a little bit unlucky here, but he's been one of their big acquisitions in this offseason. He's one of the few that have actually panned out for as much as you can. Now, he's making $100 million. You would like to see that average a little higher, which I think it would be had he not been a little bit unlucky with the hard hit balls, but he's had the flair. He's had the excitement. He's had the defensive plays, and then he had the play, obviously, this past weekend, and Conforto, pulled hammy. We'll see there. Those are always tricky. Soft tissue, man. It's just, you never know. And in baseball, those things linger. The torque, when you're spinning that body constantly, when you're swinging at the plate, whether it's a pitcher, it's just, the injuries are adding up for the Giants right now, and not a great time. It's never a great time, but especially when the Los Angeles Dodgers are coming into town. And the Dodgers right now, they're not very happy. No, they got shut out yesterday against the Padres. Never fun. And then you go to San Francisco, who you're your rival still. But you lose 2 out of 3 against San Diego. The Giants, they've won 4 out of their last 6. They're trying to, build some momentum here and not have Jung-Hoo Lee, the Confortos, against the boys in blue sucks, especially if you're just a fan that wants to go to the game. Now, this is where guys like Matt Chapman, this is where guys like Ramos, Schmidt coming up, you got to make some contact. You got to put the ball in play. You have got to start stacking up some runs. Put some pressure. Like, the most maddening thing in sports is just constantly playing from behind. That's just it. I hate watching my team never striking first. And it feels like, for the most part, I'm not seeing the Giants strike first enough. Now, I'm going to the totality of the season. As of late, they've been doing that. And they need to keep it going. Strike first. Put some pressure on the opposition. Like, how many times do we see the Warriors in years past just have sluggish first quarter starts, and that just stays with them the rest of the game? Yeah, they're constantly fighting back, but you exert so much more energy when you're just constantly clawing and fighting your way back, only for you to get punched back in the mouth, and then you've already exerted all that energy to get back in the game. Now you're back down again. It's a never-ending cycle. So I'm going Cobra Kai here, as the new season hopefully is upon us. If you're not watching Cobra Kai, what have you been doing the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years? However the hell it's been long. However long it's been on, I should say. But strike first, strike hard, no mercy, man. That's my motto for the Giants this next series against the Dodgers. And how's that rivalry still hitting, by the way? I get it. It's one of the blue blood rivalries. East Coast all the way to West Coast. Iconic brands, iconic uniforms, iconic players. But it's hard for me to call it like a rivalry when it's been this one-sided. And you can ask that from the players. They'll tell you. It hasn't really been a rivalry on the field. Yeah, sure, for the fans or anything, but even the fans, they've been dominating coming to the ballpark. So it's hard for me to call it there either. I mean, the peak happened a couple of years ago in that playoff run when it went all the way to Game 5, and that's when it felt like a rivalry. How do we get back to that? Well, the Giants have to hold up their end of the bargain. which is putting out a winning product. The Dodgers, they're the Dodgers. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be getting free agents for the rest of my lifetime and yours. Just because of that market, that ballpark, that brand, and those jerseys. How do the Giants combat that? Some of these young guys need to pan out. Harrison has been panning out. Ramos, I like what I'm seeing. Let's see more of that. Schmidt, you have a huge opportunity right now. You got your hit. You got a walk-off yesterday. Can he build off of that? Patrick Bailey. Guys like that. They need to start producing. And is that going to be enough to save Farhan Zaidi's job? Well, if the young guys produce and the Giants start winning, yeah. It's not a secret formula, people. If Farhan Zaidi wants to keep his job, that's really all it comes down to. The young bats, the young pitching, and the wins start coming. Now, are these injuries going to be something that we monitor throughout the year? And if the Giants just can't get past the injury bug and they're a non-playoff team, does that enough for Farhan to, keep him around for another year? I mean, I don't think so. But maybe it does. Maybe ownership say, you know what? We didn't get a huge look at what this team could be this year because of the lack of health. So you know what? It's a mulligan. But now we're coming up on 7 years, 7 seasons. Just like, what are we doing? But here's hoping that it's nothing serious to Jung Hoo Lee. It just looked bad. 888-957-9570 is the number. I wanted to get some of this sound before we depart because the 49ers made a major coaching change this offseason. It was one and done with Steve Wilks, defensive coordinator. You brought him in after D'Amico Ryans parted ways, taking the head coaching job with Houston. D'Amico, the players loved him. The coaches loved him. We all loved him. And now Houston and CJ Stroud is definitely loving him because they went from worst to first in that division. Then, you bring in Steve Wilks. Didn't work. Former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, interim head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Did a decent job there. Didn't get any consideration for the actual coaching job. So you bring him in, different scheme. He's a secondary kind of a guy. He's not really in defensive line or linebacker. It's not his forte. You had some blown leads. You had some blown assignments. Go back to that Monday Night Football game where it's the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins right before halftime, all that. And your coach calling them out basically after the game and Kyle Shanahan. It wasn't good. So you went outside hire and it didn't work. So what do? You go with what worked before that. And that was Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans, and that's building from within. Nick Sorensen, first time we're hearing him at the podium, and this was this last week. What does he want the identity to be of this team? Because that's a massive thing. The identity we knew heading into last season was physical, it was fast, it was explosive, and we are going to hurt you on the defensive line. Well, that didn't come to be for a lot of the season. A lot of it was the offense bailing out the defense at times. Now, I'll go down with this ship. I thought the defense showed up in a massive way in that Super Bowl. Like, for as much as we wanted to crap all over Steve Wilks all last season, the fact of the matter is, if not for a muffed punt in regulation, the Chiefs wouldn't have had a touchdown. And that's coaching to me. But it's one game, not the totality. You look at the totality of everything when it comes to coaching decisions or any hire or fire for that matter. You can't look at just one performance. It's a collection of things. And Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch felt like a change needed to happen. But what is the identity of this defense under Nick Sorensen? Here's what he had to say.
I want them to see that we're still the standard of what we've always been, an attacking defense that plays fast, we play violent, we play with speed, and we finish.
What is the biggest adjustment for your role as defensive coordinator?
For me, it's just now you're in charge of things. You have to plan your days differently. You have to plan it out for the rest of the staff. You're more involved with the draft, which was cool. Overall, just not just a certain position. So that's been fun. And
by the way, lest we forget, Brandon Staley is now a part of this staff assistant coach with the San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Staley, obviously former head coach with the Los Angeles Chargers. And obviously former defensive coordinator with Sean McVay, Los Angeles Rams. McVay, Shanahan, same branch, very tight. LaFleur, all those guys run very similar schemes when it comes to offense and defense. What will the addition of Brandon Staley look like on the defensive side?
Really just how I said it. It's more holistic. He's been kind of helping me overall. He's been involved with pretty much everything, as far as we did this. I've been kind of talking him through how we play certain things, watching stuff throughout the league and what other teams do, some of the things that he did. Would this fit? Would it not fit in our defense? And some things I was already familiar with just watching different defenses. You naturally see other defenses do things. And he's been more connected with the DBs and the nickels and, but he also has experience elsewhere with DNs and outside linebackers. But with the staff that we have, I think for me, it's going to just be really helpful that he's done it before and he's had success and he's been a head coach as well. So it's just, like I said, it's been great.
So someone to lean on in your times of trouble. There you go. Get the reference. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. So Nick Sorensen leaning on Brandon Staley. Well, hope you're not leaning on him too much because I don't think Niner fans would like that. Brandon Staley, things did not end well. I think we all have that Thursday night football game embellished in our brains of Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders dropping 60 on them. Oh, that was bad. That was bad. And hopefully he doesn't bring over that injury bug with the Chargers over to the 49ers because the 49ers damn sure have had their fair share of injuries on the defensive front. Dre Greenlaw being one of them. Hopefully he comes back at some point next season off the torn Achilles in the Super Bowl. Speaking of someone that is back, and it's good to have him back, that's Joe Shasky. He's joining Ponte Hill next on the Morning Roast.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game.